welcome back. Today, I would like to talk about relying on friends, family, acquaintances, and every other person close to you to define who you are and to tell you what you are able to do, what you are capable of doing, what your dreams are, and how you can evolve over time. So, this point comes from the realization that no one knows who you are, not even yourself sometimes. But least of all, your family, friends, and those who you believe may have a holistic impression of who and what you are. The issue is that we adjust and evolve based on various circumstances. We change and adapt based on place, time, and particular situations that we are in. So the people who are around us in those specific situations see a version of us that was adaptable to that particular moment. But to them, they aren't aware that this person that I'm experiencing is only a facet of the multidimensional persona that they possess. When you ask such people who you are, they are going to define who you are based on the boundaries within which they had experienced you. There'll be a couple of extensions for possibility of surprise and adjustment, but not to the extent, to the infinite extent that we are all capable of. I would like to give you a scenario. In high school, I went to a different school in HSC than I had gone to in O level. In O level, I was actively involved in leadership. Now, put a caveat to that. So, back in primary, I contested for head girl, which I lost. But the point is that even as far back as primary, committed and passionate about being a leader and being able to serve those around me and being at the forefront of change, of influence, and trying to instigate and steward particular movements that I felt were important. The point is that as far back as primary, I had that zeal to aspire to higher echelons of influence, of servantship, and of being able to be a proponent and a pragmatic agent of change for those around me and myself as well. Now, even in primary, when I did contest for leadership, my friends and family were always surprised. When I went for head girl, they were surprised. When I told them they have chosen me to be the leader in that drama school, there would be that element of shock and surprise. While for me, I'm like, yeah, what did you think? Why are you shocked and surprised? So even at the time, I wouldn't say it affected me negatively, but I would notice the surprise when I would share information about things that I was aspiring to do. And luckily, while there was that initial short-lived surprise, they would always eventually support me and come around. But that isn't always the case with some people. Some people, you share something to your friends and family, and the surprise turns into discouragement, turns into all the reasons why you should not do it, turns into all the various qualities that they know you possess that are going to inhibit you from fulfilling that particular thing. Now, the caveat is that for me, while there was surprise, there was no discouragement. Eventually, there was even encouragement, support, and nurture in that. Now, primary, surprise. High school. Now, in high school, in O level, I wasn't so involved in class leadership. I was a bit of a, how can I say? I wouldn't say rebellious, but sometimes I'm not someone who responds positively to very strict and intimidative and oppressive, exploitative environments that don't really foster freedom of speech, freedom of expression, or even just being able to give an explanation for particular things, whereby punishments are dished out even before the different sides are put on a fair trial and both sides are had out. So I would always have issues with authority. So many times I didn't go into leadership early because of those issues with authority. While I may have presented leadership qualities, the kind of person who is seen as a leader is one who probably has a title or a role. So I didn't initially have titles or roles, but the heart of leadership was within me, and I was always very anxious about getting into senior 2, because that is when leaders have to contest. Because even in Form 1, I knew that I was going to contest. So each time I would have that fright of like, oh my god, it's almost time, I have to make a choice. Each time a prefect went up to speak, I would almost get jitters for them, because I would be like, damn, it's almost time for me to be in that position. So I always knew that I always had that kind of fire within me. But Those around me did not know it. They did not see it because they only see leadership as someone who maybe has a particular title. However, other people saw it. Some of the teachers and authority who I would at times interface in those highly tense situations would see that, oh, there's something in this girl that is, she has some issues. She's always in some of these cases, but there's something in her, and there's a certain quality that would actually be relevant in a leadership position. So I already had those particular roles. So there'll be situations whereby, let's say, someone has to represent the school, someone has to do something, I'll be the one who is called upon by those particular people who are able to see something in me that I already knew, that maybe I did not put a label on, but I could feel within me. Now, fast forward to senior 2, I'm contesting for head girl. My class is surprised. My classmates, my friends, everybody is surprised. Put a pin on it. Please put a pin on that. Back in primary, when I did contest for head girl, my friends were surprised. But there was one friend, though she was surprised, she stood by me in the best way she could. So despite being surprised, it wasn't necessarily a negative disbelief that I could stand. It was more of, oh, I didn't think you had that interest. I didn't think you would be the one to vie for an election. But well, since you want to do this, let's go. That's a particular kind of person. Now go back to senior 2. Again, I'm contesting for head girl, and for me, I'm like, you guys, it was obvious. In my mind, it was obvious I was going to contest. Who else in senior 2 is going to, like, who else in senior 2 deserves to contest more than me? Let's all contest and see who wins. Why are you shocked? And why aren't you shocked that so and so has contested? But the people who, let's say, had been class presidents, who had been maybe leading prayers, those people who are, like going to maybe, like, they are class presidents, they are leading prayers, so they already see them as leaders. So now for you who isn't necessarily applying your leadership skills in the traditional way, you aren't viewed as a leader. So my class was shocked. At me, I'm like, you guys, I am contesting, and I contested. And now the beauty is that even while I could see the surprise, it's not like I was seeking out opinions as to whether or not I should contest. I would, most of the time, by the time I present the thing to the public, I have already gone through all the cycles of decision making, of doubt, of esteem issues, of considering of how am I going to do this. By the time I come to you, it's a done deal. But we aren't all like that. And also, even while we can all be like that, there are those who are also very strong and adamant in their discouragement. You may have done all your legwork, but this one also has the legwork to literally break down all the things that you had built up to boost you to actually aspire for these positions. So I aspire for head girl. I'm head girl. Now they know me as a leader. In O level, they know me as a leader. So I go fast forward to HSC. I go to a different school. Now I'm doing I did a challenging combination. So I was struggling academically. So when it came time for contesting for prefectship in HSC, I was struggling academically. So there was no way I could justify going to be a head girl of this beautiful school, which really focused a lot on academics, but when my points were wanting. Honestly, even if I was to contest and the students were to vote for me, school itself, by virtue of its nature, only wanted particular students who had specific points to contest for leadership. There was a cutoff point even for leadership. So I was struggling academically, and despite the time came, really I couldn't contest. So, and in this particular school, the combination I was doing had the fewest people, and there was a way we were aggregated based on those combinations. And then maybe in your dormitories, you also are aggregated based on cubes. So it's not like you are accessing everybody, and even those who you access, you're only meeting them at a surface level, talking about maybe books, how are you, all this activity. You aren't really going deep into the soul, so they aren't really knowing you at a cellular level. You get what I'm saying? But for me, I wasn't hiding anything. I was still living my truth. I was still Mariam. I was still myself. So I didn't contest for leadership, and so they weren't able to see that side of me. Fast forward, now I'm at campus. I don't want to regret. So if there's something that I feel strongly about doing, I would rather do it and fail than live with regret, because I have been there. I have been through things that I knew I was drawn to doing and I didn't do, and even up to date, they haunt me. So That same frustration in primary, when I would see the clock ticking towards the time when people are supposed to contest. At the same time in O level, when in Form 1 I was looking at the different prefects, I was anxious when prefects would go and speak on assembly, because I knew that is probably going to be my fate. Start preparing. In Form 6 in HSC, when that same anxiety came, because there was a zeal in me, I knew that this is my path, I need to go and contest. How am I going to do this? How are they doing it? How is that guy speaking? How did he walk? I had that anxiety. Something at campus, I had that same anxiety. And when I joined campus, I really wanted to see who is that president, who is that current guild president, who is he, what does he do, what's special about him, like, well, tell me, like, I want to see. And when finally I met the guild president, I was like, you know what, I can do it too, why not? So I had that same fire, that same anxiety, that same thing of like, semester's done, 3 semesters to go, are you ready, do you have the money, how are you going to semester 2, first year done. Mariam, it's about time to actually make the choice. You have to make the choice. Now, while I'm having these thoughts, I'm not telling anyone. I'm just battling through these thoughts and these feelings and this thing drawing me internally, and I haven't told anyone, not even my parents, no one. Now, eventually, it's time to contest. Now it's time, because there's a cap to a particular period within which you must contest for leadership. Now, for me, I have been battling with this thing for years, but the public just wasn't aware. So when I finally broke the news at the last possible minute to my closest friend, she also did know that, by the way, I'm contesting. The beauty is that this friend, because now there are people who see you at a molecular level. There are those who see you from within. They don't just see all this. And when I told this friend of mine, she wasn't surprised. I wouldn't even say there was surprise. I think it was more of resignation. It was like, I have to help, because as my closest friend, it was obvious she was also in a way contesting. So it was more of this thing of like, this is going to change my life, because I'm going to be expected to be a part of this. So that, I feel that was more of her reaction. Not shock, not discouragement, but more of like, okay, it's gonna be tough, but cool, let's go. When I told some other people, they were shocked. Even some of my OGs and OBs from my A-level school, because they had not seen me in that space. So it was a surprise to them to then see this person who maybe they had thought was, oh, she's the, I don't know what they thought anyway, but I wasn't outwardly visible in the leadership arena. So whatever they thought, it wasn't that I was going to then contest for guild presidency. No. So there were those mamas of like, really, why are you doing this? So now I have to explain who I am and why I'm doing this to even those who already know me. So even those who are my friends, who are within my personal space, aren't aware of who I am, and I have to explain to them who I am. So suffice this to say that people around you don't know you. So if you are waiting for those around you to help define who you are, if you're waiting to be told from them about what they think of you and what they perceive you to be and what they think you can be in future, and then base your life and curate your life based on what they have said, then you are actually in the wrong place. Because most of the time, even you do not know yourself entirely. Because the fact is, we are evolving each and every time. So don't allow to be cast in a particular bubble. Don't allow to be literally defined, sanctified, purified. Don't allow to be diminished to a small sum of particular characteristics that do not even serve you. You yourself are constantly learning who you are. So what about those who aren't even with you, in your mind, with you all the time? Right from your parents to your friends, family. Now, there are so many things that I've done. There are things that I've done that people don't know about, that at times maybe not all my family knows about, and they are surprised. I remember in Form 6 back, I applied for the MEXT scholarship to go to Japan to study. But some issues arose and I did not go. But I did not tell anyone. It was only my parents who knew. I was doing all these various, running around, going to the Japanese embassy, applying for the scholarship, going to do the medical test, all these different things. And the beauty is that I am privileged to have supportive parents who, when I come with a random idea and I would like their support on, if it's not life threatening or illegal and it's not harmful, they will support me. They will support me and we shall see from there. So I remember in my Form 6 back, I would ask for money. I have to go to the embassy. I have to go and do medical tests. I have to go and do exams. I had to do very many various things, and they would give me the money. They would ask a couple of questions, but they would basically just support me and not discourage me. So I did this with only them knowing. I wasn't hiding it, but it just wasn't something I was announcing to everyone. So years later, I am speaking to my siblings, and to kind of bring a point home, I speak about my experience applying for the next scholarship in Form 6. And they're like, what? Mariam, you applied for the scholarship? They were surprised. And I'm like, yeah, I applied for it, but I didn't finish the process because there was a pure math exam. And because there was a pure math exam and I didn't do math, I did PCB, I was like, you know what? So I had gone through all the steps of the application, and then the final stage, they tell me you have to do a pure math exam. And I said, you know what? I'm going to fail. It's pure math. It's from what I heard about pure math from my colleagues. I can't just wake up and do a pure math exam in a week. So I was discouraged, and I already had particular issues I was going through. So I just didn't finish the process. So I didn't finish the process of applying for the scholarship. Because I did PCB and I was struggling with PCB. Now you're bringing pure math, which I didn't do. I said, nope, I give up. So I gave up. So years later, I'm telling my siblings how I was applying for the scholarship. I said it in passing. And my brother's like, wait, you applied for a scholarship in VAC? I'm like, yeah, I did. Like, okay, what happened? And I'm like, well, I reached that stage of the math, the biology, chemistry, math exam. And because of the pure math, I just didn't believe I would pass, and I didn't do it. And then what surprised me was that he told me that, oh my God, I wish you had done it, because that math exam is usually like sub-math, and I had done sub-math. So it wasn't going to be, he said, it wasn't going to be a pure math exam. It was going to be more of a sub-math. It was going to be more of a sub-math exam. So I probably could have done it and excelled. But at the time, I knew it was a pure math exam and I wasn't going to play any games, so I gave up. But the point was that he was surprised that I applied for the scholarship. So even with everything that he knew about me, even that was an additional surprise. So my point is that people don't know you that well. Don't count on others to define who you are. Surprise everyone, surprise yourself. Get out of that box that you have put yourself in, and stop giving people the power to literally define who you are, to literally summarize you in a couple of brief words and statements, and to literally utilize their limited, finite experience with you to think they have the wholesome conclusion of who you are. Yeah, so that was a rant. So basically, that's what I had to share. Just got back from the pre-conference for the Network Towards Unity for Health 2023 conference, and I felt like before I change, let me just share this nuggets of information and tell you that, guys, surprise yourself, and above all, surprise everybody else around you. Peace.